Okay guys, so here we are today, the day after the fight. We have Bill Collins and we have Alex Kurdecha. Alex, congratulations again on your win. And I know you're eager to start with a question, so please go ahead, ask Bill your question.
So I first of all want to say thank you, Bill, for this possibility to ask you the question, because it's always interesting for athletes, for Armwrestler, about understanding the process clearly. And sometimes we have the questions, sometimes we think about it was correct or not correct, about the rules, about everything. But first of all, I want to ask you, it was tough day of the judging. How you feel after that day?
Yeah, well, I think it went pretty well. The challenges as a referee is what kind of rules we're going to go with. And in the KOTT4, it was really difficult because you have two different rules. And the two different rules that we were really dealing with that was different was the set grip, like you see with Levan and Devon. Mm-hmm. And the second was the WAF style referee's grip. So that was easy though. The part that was hard was the running fouls, because with Devon and Levan, it had a different set of running fouls than with you and Corey. And one of the big things is when we're dealing with the rules is let's set it down so everybody understands. When I do an event and you show up and you don't know what the rules are, it's kind of tricky in your head.
Exactly.
Now, as a referee, it's even worse, because when I show up, the rules that we have written and it gets changed, you have to remember it. And there's a lot of moving parts going on the table, so it's very difficult at times. And like I say, the set grip rules with Devon and Levan was totally different on them two aspects. So, one of the things that Corey didn't understand was he says this is the strictest rules that he's arm wrestling, and I thought, whoa, it's probably the loosest rules that I have to referee. I think in Corey's part, maybe he just didn't have referees that make them call, so it might have been loose on his area. But yeah, these were pretty loose, and when I say loose, is the objective is to see you guys arm wrestle and not foul you guys out. So there's a little bit of wiggle room that we allow the arm wrestlers to do. So it's not really super strict, but you have to call, the fouls as you see them.
Yeah, I even have like a really simple question. For example, for us, we always keep, because for me it's WAF rules already somewhere deep in my mind. And yes. For example, for us, firstly, when you go to the table, you shake the hand of your opponent. And firstly, we make the position of the shoulder.
Absolutely.
And if it's referee grips, if you go in here,
yes,
you got, in the refs you get foul.
Yes, no movement at all.
Yeah, exactly. I know that Corey, for example, had a huge shoulder. For him, it's
yes,
problem to put it in somewhere. But you remember, I said a lot of times, shoulder. Yes. It was the reason, because for me, it's the difference between the rules that we need to keep shoulders. Like after that, we center, front, knuckles, and it was also the question for Corey, so that's why I said it before. For ours, this knuckle, I don't know if it's on camera, if this line is open, this is okay.
Yes.
So this is correct about the rules of yesterday, or maybe I'm wrong with something?
No. It was, you're correct on the rules for yesterday for your match, but a little bit looser. Because if the guys didn't square up their shoulder, I give you a foul. Okay, is that what you guys want? You guys fly all the way over here to Dubai.
Yeah, foul, goodbye. Yeah,
I would rather and the organizers with KOT, they want to see the match. They don't want to see anybody foul out. So something's technicality as far as moving your shoulders, or we do want to see that top thumb knuckle. Yeah. So do you call the foul, or do you let them fight a little bit and move your shoulder? As long as it didn't change the dynamics of the match before the start, we were okay with that.
Yeah. So it's clear for me. I know it was kind of not so clear, I think, in the guys' match like Devon and Levan, because they have more changes. Yeah?
Yes.
So I have a next question. How you think it's like? Of course, it's fair if it's like the same for everybody.
Yes.
but sometimes one athlete just don't know that he can do something, and he watch that another do this, and he think that it's not fair.
Yes.
But sometimes it's like only the necessity that to show you guys you can do this, but it's like advice. So sometimes we don't use it, or that you cannot do this.
Yes.
What was the hardest thing to in setup between Devon and Levan?
As far as their setup,
Yeah.
you know, the hardest thing now, Levan, he was easy to referee. He comes up, sets his arm down.
Yeah.
He wants to arm wrestle.
Yes, I think the
so,
same.
So Levan was beautiful as far as aspect. Devon, he'll come in there and he'll get as much as he can, and as much as you let him. You know, so Devon, he'll come in and move his shoulders in, and you know, whatever Devon does on the table, there's a reason for it.
Of course.
And when he grabs a hold of Levan and you see him start to curl in, or before even the grip,
Yeah.
Devon's filling him out to try to see what he could do.
Yeah.
We haven't started the match. You know, the organizers like to see that because
It's a show.
Yeah, it's the show. You know, Devon, you know, talks so much. He's talking about the story, and then all of a sudden it turns into the drama, and then they want to see the war, and then to tell into the story.
Yeah.
And so when Devon gets up there and starts doing all this shit, there's a reason for it.
Absolutely.
You know, and the organizers, they would want a little bit of loose rules on there, because you look at their match. I could have, if I was doing WAF, like what you said, Devon wanting to arm wrestle, and that's not what everybody wants to see. So you have to work with it a little bit to the point where before the match starts, you know, the hand and everything else is fairly good.
Yeah. And now I have one more question. So for this type of the show, because it's not only the sport for athletes, like we can go to the gym, like who in the strict rule, okay, who's the strongest, it's clear, but we also show something for the people. They watch it us. Honestly, it's thanks for them we have this party.
Absolutely.
And what do you think is optimal rules, like maybe clear to system of WAL, or maybe change a little bit between WA or WAF to make it clear for athletes and interesting for people who watch it?
Yeah, so you know, again, if we were really strict like the WAF rules, which I prefer, I like better for myself as a referee, it's easier to referee, but not good for the arm wrestler or the spectator. And if you think about arm wrestling, I'll be honest, it's relatively boring for the normal person that don't know arm wrestling. So if it's going to be boring for the normal spectator, we don't have a fan base.
Exactly.
So, you know, when a fan base goes up there and sees some guy real strict, he moves, he gets a foul, then he gets another foul, then pretty soon the match is over. Now the arm wrestling, that average person that looks at it, they say, shit, this ain't for me.
Exactly.
But if you get up there and you see like Levan and Devon, I'm just going to use them for example. You know, Devon's talking shit. He's getting in Levan's face. He's moving around a little bit.
Absolutely.
The fan base is like, oh shit, we got something going on here.
Yeah.
So it's going to draw them into it, and that's what the organizer wants. But you know, with that in mind, it's very hard for competitors like you, because what they should be doing is giving you guys a set of rules, and we've talked about this before you even sign the agreement. So you know what's going on, you know what kind of rules are, and we have something standardized. You know, we tried doing that with the KOTT4. I changed, you know, made some suggestions. We changed the rules up, and that didn't go very well, because along with arm wrestling, now there's staking and there's betting, and people that bet on a particular athlete, and the rules change a little bit, it changes the dynamics of the betting too. So one thing that I know that the organizers are going to do is, you know, come up with a standard set of rules designed just for them, and give it to the athletes before they come. Now, one of the things that the athlete needs to understand is during the rule briefing, it was very difficult, because we're like dealing with two different side of rules that's hard to understand for, you know, people that don't understand English very well.
Yeah.
So they don't have nothing in writing. They're listening to two separate rules and they get confused.
Yeah.
But like I say, going forward, the organizer is objective, have a standard set of rules, give it to the athlete when they sign the contract, and then create some dialogue back to the organizer for questions and answers.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree with you. Like, for me, it's just should be fair, so it should be the same for the athletes. They just need to understand, like you say, if you give it before, they understand everything, maybe sometimes ask you something, but before the match, they already know what they can do and what they cannot do. And of course, it's thanks to people who watch it, so it should be like the kind of the battle. It's not like something starts and stop because of millimeter, elbow of the pad or something like that. Yes, absolutely, totally agree with this, and absolutely good advice and decision that just make some rules, which is cool for athletes and cool for viewers.
Absolutely. Well, in your case, you arm wrestled both sets of rules.
Yeah.
This one was different.
Actually, 3 kinds of rules.
Yeah, this one was different than the last time. And for someone like you, I could totally understand that, oh shit, what are we going? Because that wasn't the same as last time versus like Corey and Marcio coming over for the first time.
Yeah.
They don't know what the other set of rules was, so it didn't bother them. But someone like you that arm wrestled, in what, the KOTT4 was it?
Yeah. Even for example, before that I have WAF, PAL is little bit changed to WAF. In Armwrestling I have WAL, real WAL rules, which is very interesting rules. And here on the King of the Table 3, and now little bit modified the King of the Table 4. So it's like 5 kind of different rules.
Well, I talked to the organizers this morning, and the objective is to make it better. And being that they are on the birthing stage, you might say, they're just trying to find the right recipe for the spectator and for the arm wrestler.
Exactly.
And I'm going to make some suggestions because as a referee, for me, it's very difficult because you got one set of rules that you're trying to manage, and then the next match you got a different set of rules, and it's difficult because
of course.
Are you making the right call? Because there's so much stuff going on the table that in a referee's mind, it's like, oh shit, was it the running foul, or did you stop the match? So
it's like you need to push some button. This rule's off and this is on. It's impossible.
So for the arm wrestler, it's difficult.
Yeah.
For the referee, it's even more difficult because he's the one making that judgment call.
Yeah.
And on that judgment call, it's spontaneous, and you have to make the call like this. And when you make the call like this, oh shit, was it the right set of rules?
Yeah.
So it's going to get better. I know the KOTT4, what I suggested is with what rules that they've got between the two, I'll just make some suggestions, send it to them, and let them modify it so it becomes standard. So the whole objective going forward for like KOTT4 and KOTT6 or whatever they do, we got the same rules for everybody. So when you come back, you know exactly what they are.
Honestly, I'm happy to hear, because in this situation, I know that it's like development of the rules. The way where the organizers take the advice from the judge, and they find in the final they find the best way how to organize, in which rules it should be like clear for athletes and the best for the viewers.
Absolutely.
I think for viewers it's very important, because that's the guys who pay for the whole party. So it should be interesting for them.
The viewers are your customers.
Exactly.
And if you don't give good customer service, you don't have no business no more.
Absolutely.
And like you say, and there's what's really difficult too is all the haters. The people you may have followers that love you, and you don't have followers that love Corey.
Yeah.
So, but you also have haters too.
Exactly.
And these haters are the ones that make it difficult, and a lot of the haters are the ones that don't even arm wrestle.
Yeah.
And they make it very difficult, because if you let it get inside your head, it really screws things up too. So I think the majority of what we've witnessed yesterday, for me as a referee, for me to even think about coming back, I have to have a standard set of rules, because as a competitor and as a referee, you have to be set up to make it successful.
Yeah.
And the organizer, they hire you as a spectator or as the competitor to come over for the viewers. The viewers are their customers, and when you get the customers, they make money off it where they could give it to you, someone like you. So, you know, it's a fine balance between the two.
Yeah,
And you have to find that right recipe that's going to be best for both.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about the rules is you're not going to make everybody happy.
It's impossible. Just impossible.
Well, that's the problem with what was going on right now is, you know, the organizers, they know the viewers are the ones that are paying to watch the view. When they pay to watch the view, again, the organizer could pay you, and the organizer just trying to make the viewers happy as well. Well, you can't make them all happy. And you know, you may have one guy, and I'm not going to mention their name, that's kind of influential on some of the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like involved with the core sports,
Exactly.
just creating shit, you know, and it's not real fair for the organizer or the referee. What some of these guys don't understand is the referee on the birthing stage like KO will make suggestions, but it's not my final decision. And if they say, hey, you know, be consistent with the refereeing, you got to be consistent with the rules. And one of the things, you know, and the biggest thing that really is heartfelt for the referee is, you know, you get interviewed by someone that you think that's going to help and move the sport forward, but when they do the interview with their own hitting agenda just to get views on it, it turns that interview, the positive interview, into a bashing interview. As you know, as I've seen with one of the interviews I'd done probably 2 weeks before, that I had no idea I was being set up on, just so somebody could get some views. And that's why I told you guys earlier, that hey, I'm not doing no more interviews, but you know, just getting to know you. I know you guys aren't that kind of people, so I don't mind doing an interview with you guys and giving me my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I'm totally happy about the information I already have, because I was like hungry about this information, and now I give the voice for this beautiful interviewer. I think he has a lot of questions.
Okay, so the thing is, before starting the questions, I heard that you said that the Alex and Corey match was the hardest to ref, and the Levan and Devon match was the easiest, which was the contrary as you thought, which is surprising.
Yes, absolutely. You know, and you know, as a referee, when I come into like super matches, you know, in my head, I'm already thinking how you're going to arm wrestle versus how Corey's going to arm wrestle. You know, try to know the dynamics of your guys' style, and that helps me watch for where the areas that may need to be watched. Yeah. You know, I know that you're a massive top roller. I know that Corey is a hooker.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting. But one of the biggest things is when you got a guy that, you know, his thumbs is only as big as his toe, it's very difficult to get a grip, because, you know, on a top roller, you want to be able to get in, get your hand, put your knuckles up high. And when you do that, his thumb just kind of sinks down in there. Now, in your guys' match, you didn't have to even do that, because your guys' hands are so big, and Corey's is really fat. As soon as you squeeze it, his thumb will whoop, like a worm going back down in a hole. So what's that do for you? It takes your grip totally away from you, because I couldn't wrap over your thumb on some of the matches. You've seen that I had to do this.
Yeah.
But in order to make that grip fair, you know, we have to try to see that top thumb knuckle. And it might not be in a favor on someone like you, because you like to climb over your thumb. In a couple of cases, you had to go over this just to get the match started.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. My question is, who is Bill Collins, and when did you get involved with arm wrestling?
Oh my God. So, I'm like 61 years old. I'm almost gonna be 62.
Oh, you look good.
Yeah, I started arm wrestling in 1980. Way the hell back when we didn't care about the rules. We just wanted to get up there and beat the shit out of other people. And when I started, there wasn't a lot of people that trained in my area. So for the first 3 years, I got the shit beat out of me until I learned the style. And, you know, my genetics isn't like a lot of people. I have to really train on my weak spots. Like I said, I've arm wrestled for 40 years, and I've worked on this for 40 years, and it's still a little tiny ass wrist. And so going through the stages, I've won 6 world titles. I helped develop the United States Arm Wrestling Federation. I was the manager for Team USA for 6 years, going to WF World Championships. I started 3 different organizations. The last organization that I started was the one that me and my partner did with Ultimate Arm Wrestling League. And you know, the Ultimate Arm Wrestling League, we had a vision and knew how to get there. And it came to the point where we had a lot of network companies looking at us. We would have been the pioneers and the leader of a lot of the stuff, but you know, the network companies is what a lot of people don't understand is, you know, to produce a half-hour, 1-hour show, it's a minimum about $150,000 if you want to try to get it on TV. Now, over in the European areas, it may be easier, may be cheaper to get it on TV, but in the United States, it's very difficult. So again, you know, being in the sport for so long, after competing for all them years, I got into refereeing and then got into the promotion. It was probably maybe 9 years ago, I tore my bicep tendon. And after I tore that, I said, you know, I've done what I did, I've achieved my goals, and now it's time to start promoting and, you know, help move that sport forward in the United States. So, you know, and then as time goes on with the refereeing, you know, it started to get recognized that, I don't know, I don't want to make it sound crazy, but, you know, there's average referees, and then there's kind of like a little better referees. And so I kind of moved that out of that one area and tried to do the better part of the refereeing, and it turned into the super match thing, which now has becomes more difficult to referee. So that's kind of my story on that.
Yeah. So how did it feel to be reffing such high level event yesterday, but also events in general? Because you've basically been reffing in the last year the biggest events in the world right now, so King of the Table. So how does it feel for you?
Yeah, so refereeing the elite matches is more difficult because the more elite the arm wrestler is, the more tricks that they got. And you have to try to learn them tricks when we start looking at these super matches. And when I go in to referee a match, the match doesn't really bug me because I just referee it as a normal match. Where the match becomes difficult is when you have to apply different kind of rules to it. So, you know, like we talked about earlier on the rules, standardize the rules, make that easy, like it's just a regular arm wrestling match. So when I start looking at the elite, I don't really worry about, hey, this guy is the best, this guy is next to the best, a lot of the pressure, because I just try to take that pressure off and ref that match just like it's a regular one. So, you know, it does kind of help. But there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress. For me, where the stress really comes into play is like we talked about, the viewers and the spectators and all the bashing going in, and the referee's a damn cheater, you know, why didn't he make that call on him? Well, they don't understand the rules, and they're not behind the doors to see what's going on. So, you know, we just got to do the best we can, and the people that are going to talk all that shit, they're going to talk it regardless, because by the end of the day, only one person's happy, and that's the guy that wins.
That is true.
So, and then again, at the end of the day, if you got a fan base, all the viewers, all the spectators, they're going to be happy. The other guy is going to be sad and start bashing you, you know, because now all of a sudden the referee's a cheater and he's letting him, you know, give him favor. But that isn't in my case, because I don't care if it's my mother, arm wrestling you, she's gonna get treated the same way you are, and that's kind of how I stick by it.
Yeah, it's true. And a lot of people say that you are the best ref in the world, and a lot of people, especially people can say whatever, but athletes hold you to such a high regard. Hermes in first place. I know him personally. He speaks so highly of you, Bill. And what do you think about that? Are you the best ref in the world?
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like I'm a good enough referee to be in a category, because there's a lot of really good referees out there that I feel they could step in and take my place and do just as good. But it is kind of nice to know that you got some people out there that like what you're doing. And I think where it really comes into play is be fair with both people. Now, when I say be fair with both people, and I'm gonna talk about Levan and Devon's match. Levan goes up there, he puts his arm down, he grabs, he wants to arm wrestle. Okay, that's fair, that's beautiful. Now you get Devon to come up there, he's wiggling around. Now, as a referee, what's fair? To let Devon do that because Levan's not doing it? Let Devon get away with it? Levan's not getting away with it? So what we got to do is find a fine balance. And again, when we start looking at that fine balance, is what does the organizer want?
Yeah.
What does the spectator want? And what is the show trying to achieve?
I have a tricky question for you, Bill. I don't know if you want to answer or not, because everyone's asked all these last 10 days about rankings of athletes, about what they thinking about who the place number 2, number 3. I would like to ask you about rankings of referee, because actually I agree with Isa. I already hear a lot of times that you are one of the best. Now I know why. Because previously, when I just pull and you judging me, okay, I feel that the Bill has some vision, he knows some rules. And for example, for me it was very important to understand the rules, what I can do and cannot. Because when you go and you don't know everything, that's a minus. And if you know what exactly, the rules perfect, yeah, you can use it in the best way. But come back to the question, ranking top 5 best refs, on your opinion.
What are the 5 best refs, man?
Yeah, I know it's a tricky question, but people want it. People want it.
Oh my God.
Top 5 strongest arm wrestling today.
I've refereed with a lot of the ones in the United States. I used to go to the World Champions, or the WF World Champions. There's a lot of good referees there. I don't know their names. Okay. Now, when we start looking at United States, I could, as far as I'm concerned, you got Leonard Harkless. As far as I'm concerned, he is one of the best. Now, the thing about Leonard is he's very smart, and he will not subject himself to be scrutinized like these loose rules like we're doing over here. Strictly WAF. He has his own organization that's sustainable. He's been doing it for probably 40 years as well. In my books, Leonard is one of the best. Now, on the other side, one of my master referees as well is Keith Michelle. I think Keith Michelle is very good. Keith Michelle could step in and do what we do as well. And not because this one is my son, but Chris Collins. I feel he's really good. I feel he could step in and do what I could do. Chris was, he was conceived at an arm wrestling event. So he's been with arm wrestling all his years. He's been with me. He's my wingman. He's my business partner. He's a very good referee. He just doesn't go venture out like I do. There's like I say, a lot of good referees in Europe that ref for the WAF. A lot of them crossed over to the IFA now. And the bad thing for me about mentioning names is I can't remember their names. So, there's a lot of up and coming referees in the United States that I think, with a little bit more table time, they're going to be at that same level. So, which is good because as far as I'm concerned, when you get an organizer such as a KOT, I'm not sure, this may be my last last one I need for KOT.
Oh, come on.
You know,
Totally not agree with this.
I'm just saying, but
We need you, Bill, so don't say like that.
So when you get, but you've got an inventory of other good referees and a lot of them that are coming up as well that I think could step in and do just as good. So, you know, and you know, it's the stress level on what referee can handle or not. But there's a lot of good ones. You know, I can't name them all, but you know, I feel that they're just as good as I am, or I'm just as good as they are, and I think they could just step right in and take over.
Okay, so I have one more question, because for me it's absolutely cool that previously you was also like athletes, so you know what athletes doing into the table. What is your opinion? For Reff, it's better like if Reff in past was like athlete, and this give him possibility to understand exactly where need to make a point of what you need to watch, or maybe just like usual Reff, which read the book, or maybe watch some videos, go to the seminar. Which Reff will be like better?
Yeah, you know, I think the better ref is the one that has a lot of table time. And the one that has a lot of the table time is no different than the arm wrestler that has a lot of table time. So you could get a referee that maybe referees 1 or 2 events a year. They're only going to be as good as how much time they're on the table. You get an arm wrestler that arm wrestles only once or twice a year, it's the same thing. So the more time you put in it, the better you get. And you know, you said something about the WAF rules and these KOT rules and, you know, PAL and WAL. And if you remember in the rules briefing, what I had mentioned, if you follow WAF rules, don't worry about the other ones, because the WAF is the strictest. And if you arm wrestle WAF, it doesn't matter what the KOT rules are. What matters is what you could get away with. You know, somebody like
I'm a little bit agree and disagree with you. You know
okay.
why? Because, for example, if me it's Levan, yeah, and I stand like this, shoulders, center, and everything, and I just, what my opponent is doing, for example, is doing this, stand like this. So I, in my mind, have a question: what happening? If I knew like that it's possible, that it's okay according to the rules. So it's inside the rules, it's not out of the rules. So it's, okay, I give you possibility, do, but because I know when I start, I will waiting for the goal, and you will see what it will be.
I agree 100%. And like I said earlier, it's what you could get away with. But yeah, like the KOT rules, the running fouls, you could have little bobbles and it doesn't stop. Yeah. Well, if you keep your damn elbow in the pocket, you don't have to worry about that. But again, you know, what I see in some of the competitors is what I could get away with on the rules. And like my organization, we're, you know, I use like WAF rules, but without, you know, the king's move and the starts. Everything else is pretty much the same. But if you can master the rules, if you can master WAF rules, you could adjust to the other rules fairly easy.
Yeah, totally agree.
That's the way I look at it.
So I have this question, and then the few later questions will be very interesting.
Wait, say that one more time?
I have this question I'll ask you, and the next one will be very interesting. So,
okay.
Just gonna ask you, what was the biggest or most special event or tournament that you reffed, and which one was the most important for you?
Oh my God. As far as what's the biggest event that I ref, you know, I have to say the World Championships. But it's totally different than the super match rules. Now, if you want to talk about the highest profile, you know, I've done some stuff for Igor, you know, with PAL, Neil Pickup, and you know, Neil's, he's like the perfect balance. He could do everything. He promotes, he referees, he's an announcer, he's an arm wrestler. He is like that perfect recipe on a full-blown person that could do everything. I have arm wrestled I have a referee for Neil as well. So looking at all the organization, PAL not long ago was doing what the king of the table is. And I refereed a lot of high-profile matches with him. I can't say nothing bad about Igor as far as his production and how he picked out the athletes. He had Dennis Onkoff and Michael Todd going with Pushkar, and so he had some of the high level profile arm wrestlers that I refer. So that was, as far as I'm concerned, that was really good. The KOT now, as far as I'm concerned, is pushing PAL to the side, and the KOT is rising. So right now I think it's the king of the table that's going on.
Okay, I want to know from you, Bill, your top 5 strongest arm wrestler of today era, current era.
Oh man, again, this is one of my downfalls, and there's a reason why I don't get on social media very much. I don't want to know about the other arm wrestlers. I'm just being honest here. But when I look at I still think John Brzezink's coming back, and he's going to be in his game. You look at Devon. We look at it, and I can't even remember the names of all the people that we had over at KOT. But there's a lot of Europeans that are at that level. You got Levan that we just seen. You got Ermis. Ermis. He's pretty well rounded. He's very diversified. So. I'd have to bring him right up into the top 5 too. Ivan too, there's just a lot of really good arm wrestlers. So I can't really just say these are the 5 strongest that I think, because you could be strong as hell and this guy could be very technical, and that technique's going to beat the strength sometimes. So, it's very difficult. And shit, you're not bad yourself, so I got to give you props. And what's interesting is, the arm wrestling, as far as I'm concerned, started off at a professional level in the United States. And then, it started to revolve in the Europeans. And what's really interesting is a lot of the European countries, they recognize arm wrestling as a professional sport. United States is still not there yet. We're still trying to legitimize it. So the way I look at this thing is the USA, in the very early stages, they rose to the top. Now the Europeans are passing USA. Now what I do know in USA is the younger guys, we got a lot of good ones, but they can't match the Europeans. But the old guys, they're still on top of their game, where the Europeans are trying to catch up to the old guys. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, probably in another 10 years, and like I say, I used to put the USA team together. I think in another 10 years, I think USA is going to have a very hard time competing with the Europeans, or for the simple fact that we don't have a lot of training programs. We still do it for fun, where, you guys on the other side of the world are very serious and dedicated and train like a mad dog and have different types of programs. So, like I say, I think that balance is starting to outweigh on the European side. And that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I want to elaborate on that, because in America you have, for example, John Brzezinski is 57. Let's say North America, right? So Michael Todd is getting old. Devon is almost 50. Todd Hutchins is well beyond his 50s. You have Dave, who's almost getting there. So these are basically the best of the best. In 5 years, in 10 years, these guys are gone.
Exactly.
Who you have to replace them? While in Europe you have the Morozov, the Sporongs, the Gasparinis, the Alex Kurdechas, all these youngsters coming up. Do you see, maybe in a sad way, America fading away of the arm wrestling scene internationally in the next 5-10 years?
Well, no, I think we still got a lot of young ones that are coming up. And when I say young, being 61 years old, hell, everybody's young underneath that age. Mm-hmm. But we still got a lot of young ones that I think is coming up. But at what level are they going to compete with the Europeans? Because you know, like you just said, and like I said earlier, the elite ones for the United States, they're at that older age now, and you know how it is with arm wrestling. There's so much stress and pressure on all your tendons and stuff that can they sustain it, especially when you get an injury. You know, like in my case, I got an injury on my bicep years ago. I didn't fix it, and that pretty much took me out of competition. So it's going to be interesting. The young older group that's moved up, pretty soon they're going to be dropping off. Who's going to take their place? You know, we may have a handful of them, but I still don't think they're going to be at the level that the old guys are at right now.
Interesting. So you've been an athlete, you've been an organizer, you've been a referee, you've been everything in arm wrestling. So who better than you to answer this question? How can arm wrestling become a better sport from a sport perspective, and how can it become better from a reffing perspective?
From a refereeing perspective?
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna go with the last question first. On the referee perspective is the training programs, because not a lot of people want to be referees, and for the simple fact that they get beat up. It's a thankless job. They make a bad call and they're scrutinized. They say something wrong on an interview and they get beat up by the social media. So who wants to put themselves in that position? You know, as a referee, it has to be in your blood, and you have to love and be passionate for the sport, because you take an ass whipping every time you come to the table. Now, as far as the arm wrestling itself, I think personally we have to draw in more spectators, because for me as a promoter, if I don't draw in more spectators, and I try to go get a sponsor to hold the event, they want to know, okay, I give you this, what are you giving me? And if you can't give them like exposure, if you can't give them recognition, if you can't give them something back, like bringing the bodies in so they could capture the aftermarket, it's an upward battle. So it's always a challenge. And you know, as far as I'm concerned with arm wrestling, I think where it's shifting to is more so much like the super matches like we're doing here. Because the super matches is, you could have the story like what we've seen, and then, you know, all the shit talking, you know, you're building up the drama. We see the war on the table. You have a tell into the story, and you create that fan base. And that fan base, next time you come up and I'm your fan, I'm gonna be dialed in so I can see what Alex is gonna be doing. And that's the only way we're gonna be doing it with these super matches, because the conventional tournament, you're up once, you're down once, you don't have that chance to build that dynamics for a spectator to say, oh shit, I want to come back and watch Alex, see if he gets his ass kicked, or see if he kicks the other guy's ass. So you know, that's kind of where I feel it's at.
Yeah. Also, Neil said it wouldn't be a bad thing for arm wrestling match to finish in a draw, because then you can have like more matches to see that if it's in a draw, it's going to be super interesting. So you're going to have again the match. So it's like different little things that we can add from all perspective and make the sport grow and better.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a funny question. I saw a video. It was like a crazy accident happened. One of the reffing you've done. Like a guy literally punched a ref in the face.
It was in US, yeah.
Did you remember that? I saw you in the video.
It was my event.
Oh, okay. You want to talk about it?
Oh man!
What a beautiful question.
Yeah.
You know, the guy that done that, and this is what's crazy, is
it's the craziest thing which you never expected like that.
No,
we need security like near to the table.
I'm gonna back up before that happened. He's been banned at Leonard's event for starting shit. I banned him from the United States Arm Wrestling Federation because he'd done that same kind of thing.
Really?
We were at the Nationals, and at the Nationals we get 500 competitors there. on the big ones, but the average, about 300 from the United States Arm Wrestling Federation, and he gets called up to the table. You got 30 seconds to get to the table.
Yeah.
Well, he comes up to the table, makes it okay. He wins his match. Then he goes to his bedroom because now we're in the top 4. Okay, he made it to the top 4. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, instead of going to the left-handed class, because we always do the right first and then go to the left, our bracket person said, oh, we're going to run him down to the top 2. So he calls him up again. He's in his room, doesn't make it. He finally runs to the stage, probably 5 seconds late. The other referee says, winner. Well, that didn't go very well. So it triggered him. And he went off. And I know him, and the reason why I know him, because he used to come to my house and train. But he was one of them crazy dudes, and I like the guy, even though he is a little crazy. Is just for an example, I live out in the country, and we love animals, and my granddaughter's got a goat, and he gets in the pen with the goat, and pretty soon he's headbutting the goat. So they're doing this. Well, all of a sudden the goat is no longer a pet because every time you go in the pen, it tries to beat you up. That's the kind of crazy shit this guy does. So at this particular event, one of my referees he had a problem with. I guess they lived close to each other and they were training. He stayed at his house for a little bit, and they created a little animosity between each other. And when he was getting up there to referee, getting up there to arm wrestle, he felt that referee was not being fair to him. And I was actually the downside referee. So before I knew it, he got in a little argument with him. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and pretty soon he throws a punch at the referee. And then, everybody jumps up on the stage. Ron Nath was there too, and we contain him and stuff. And I know the guys, his adrenaline's flowing. Sometimes he's not in the right mind. He means well, but he just kind of flies off the handle. So with this, his name's John DeBow. And if you go back to the video, you can probably see him. But I like the guy. He's just a little crazy sometimes. So what I had to do on him is he'll listen to me when I talk to him. But sometimes in the heat of the battle, he just loses it. And I told him, look, John, that's strike 3. And usually I don't give people, 3 chances. But I'm going to give you a 4th one. If it ever happens again, I'm just letting you know that I can't let you arm wrestle in hard events anymore. So far going forward, he's been okay. But yeah, it got a little heated. He got ejected from the event. But that's not the right way to hold yourself. But the people that seen that, oh shit, it was so it was a crazy time.
Yeah. Because I don't think he even did it kind of on purpose, because he regretted it immediately. He started crying.
It was his natural reaction. It was it was not special, but it was like natural reaction of emotions.
I think he meant in a way, but then he regretted it, because I remember him crying and Ron Bat holding his face.
Yes, Ron Bat was the guy.
And that's what I mean. He's like high and low. He's up and down. And I'm not going to even talk about how he was brought up, but him and I had some very lengthy conversation on what his problem was, how to contain himself. And, he got into some of his personal life, and as a child, he had it very difficult. I mean, difficult where most people would probably be in a nut house, so.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, Bill, my last question to you, the easiest one. What is arm wrestling for Bill Collins? What does that mean for you?
Oh man, that's supposed to be the easiest.
Yeah, so easy.
That's not
easy for the last.
Arm wrestling for me is it's in your blood. You either love it or you hate it. What I like about arm wrestling is you got distant family. I've got friends in every country. If I wasn't into the arm wrestling, I wouldn't have all these friends. So I consider like you, my family, you're one of my friends. So it's a distant family, and it's camaraderie that brings everybody together. And they're bringing it together for one common goal, to get on the table and arm wrestle. And you know, for me, what arm wrestling means to me is I would love to be a contributor to see it move to that next level. The big problem with moving it to the next level is, my personal opinion, I don't think we have the right leaders to take it to that level, because the leaders in the sport, they get pissed off when one does something that the other one isn't involved with, and then they split up and it makes it even worse. So, you know, it took years and years to get only one world championship, one WAF. It took years and years in the United States to only get one nationals. And now what's happening is, you know, we got 2-3 nationals again in the United States. We got 2 world championships, you know, IFA and WAF.
WAF, yes.
You know, that's where it's very difficult. So I've been involved with, you know, the WAF on their, you know, their committee, and you know, representing the United States. And I've seen a lot of stuff, a lot of political stuff that I don't like to get involved with. But I think if we could take the politics out of the play, get the right people involved, bring them together, head down that same path, who knows, we may see this in the Olympic one of these days. I'll probably be dead by the time that happens, but I would love to be part of that, to get it to that level. But like I say, it's gonna take the right team to make that happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard, very difficult. Very
But
difficult.
we need to believe in this.
Yeah.
Maybe like a right leader come in our
Yes.
sport and help with this.
Strong leaders and strong athletes together, I think they can make it.
No, absolutely. You know, and you know, I hate to say it, but I'm brutally honest. Right now, I don't think we have the right leaders, because there's too much corruption. And the reason why I say that, because I've seen it. You know, and like I say, I don't sugarcoat the shit. I've seen it. There's corruption. If we have an election and I'm standing next to you, you're my friend, it's like, hey Bill, you're gonna vote for me, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, shit. You know, when that happens, all of a sudden you get your other friend that's running. Hey Bill, I got your support, right? You know, it puts you in a very difficult predicament, and that has to be taken out of the equation. You know, it has to be fair, and I just don't think it is right now.
I absolutely agree with you. Bill, thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you so much for being an amazing person. Thank you so much for being an amazing referee.
Ah.
Please don't consider the option of not coming here again, because the arm wrestling family, as you call it, needs you. The community needs you. You're doing an amazing, incredible job.
No,
Please
appreciate
keep
it.
going. And thank you so much.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me here. It was enjoyed talking to you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I ain't a one-trick pony, got a whole bag of magic. The snare, kick, hat, sample, and raps all matching. Fashion and style forever getting better at it. The 7th letter, replay to authentic pen.